Do you need Sarah down here? You
Okay, I will call this meeting of the Marshall County Board of Supervisors for April 9th, 2025 to order. Notice to the public, the Board of Supervisors welcomes comments from the public during the time allowed for discussion. You are requested to approach the podium and use the microphone. State your name and address for the record and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others may be given the opportunity to speak. The normal process on any agenda item is for the chair to read the item from the agenda. The board is given an opportunity to comment on the issue and/or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate, and a roll call vote will follow. Roll call vote, please.
Hibbs,
Yes.
Heil,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
Okay, if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve today's agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Goodman,
Yes.
Heil,
Yes.
Hibbs,
Yes. Item number 5, the proclamation of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We'll have Jordan approach the podium.
All right, good morning, Jordan Gaffney, Marshall County Attorney. It just feels a little bit wonky with this, it's a little
Yeah.
turned, isn't it?
Yeah, would you like to recognize our guests here, if we have any other guests for that?
We have a couple, we have actually 3 people in the grant-funded team in my office here, the VIVA Boca-funded team. We have 2 victim witness coordinators, Lisa Crouch, Becky Fleming, and 1 VIVA prosecutor, Kaylee Kazee here. Autumn couldn't be here, but these folks work really hard, not just for domestic violence, but combating sexual violence. And our office devotes a lot of resources, a lot of time into it. And a lot of times, the effort that we put into these cases and the trials that we pursue are some of the most meaningful we have, not just for our staff, but for the crime victims and their families too. So I'm really thankful for you guys. I'm really thankful for all our staff and our community partners in law enforcement and access to. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation.
Okay.
Marshall County, Iowa, proclamation of the Board of Supervisors, proclamation of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Marshall County. Whereas, according to the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 26 men experience rape or attempted rape in their lifetime. And whereas, according to the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, more than 47% of women and 23% of men have experienced some form of unwanted sexual contact in their lifetime. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month draws attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has implications for every community member. And whereas there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence through prevention, education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of sexual violence responsible for their actions. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors. And whereas anyone can be a leader in preventing and ending sexual violence as community members, parents, family members, and friends, we all have an obligation to uphold the basic principle that every individual should be free from violence and fear. And whereas it is important to recognize the importance of the compassion and dedication of individuals who serve survivors of sexual abuse and their families, including local programs, state coalitions, national organizations, criminal and juvenile justice agencies, healthcare providers, law enforcement, allied professionals, and survivor services organizations. And whereas we as a county encourage survivors and their families to seek assistance from appropriate survivor services organizations, including Access, Luna, Monsoon, and other local programs and state coalitions. And whereas the Access Sexual Abuse Crisis Hotline is 1-800-203-3488, And whereas we encourage every person to start conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, and how to help survivors connect with services, and to speak out against harmful attitudes and actions. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the Marshall County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Marshall County to keep our community members safe from this crime, and to stand with survivors and victims of sexual assault. Dated this, I don't remember what day today is. I believe it's the 9th day of
9th, yeah.
April 2025. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you, Jordan. And thank you for your work that you do, and thank the organizations that are our partners in this work. So it's very important. We appreciate it. Okay. Do we need a resolution? Approval?
Do we need an official motion for the proclamation of Sexual Assault Awareness Month?
If I'm signing it.
Well, so it's on the
Let's do it.
record. I'll make the
Yeah.
motion to, to have April for Marshall County as the Sexual Assault Awareness Month with the attached proclamation.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Roll call vote, please.
Just choose any order.
Goodman,
Yes?
Isle,
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Approving the previous regular session minutes of March 26, 2025. Approving claims as audited. Personnel changes, item 6C(I), change in status at the sheriff's office. Sean Mayday? Madey. Jailer to level 1 supervisor, full-time, from $25.33 per hour to $26.33 per hour, effective April 9th, 2025. Change in status in the county attorney's office. Kaylee Kizzy, assistant county attorney, full-time, from $77,000 to $86,500, effective retroactively April 1st, 2025, for the VAWA and VOCA grant contract. Luke Hansen, assistant county attorney, full-time, from $91,535.72 to $100,435.72, effective April 16th, 2025. Brianna Nelson, assistant county attorney, full-time, from $83,987.32 to $92,887.32, effective April 16th, 2025. Autumn Canny, assistant county attorney, full-time, from $92,400 to $101,300, effective April 16, 2025. Jake Dorman, assistant county attorney, full-time, from $77,253.88 to $86,153.88, effective April 16, 2025. Item 6C(II), the file manure management plans, Keno Farms 8 LLC, Bangor Finisher Farm, number 59034 at 1326 Hopkins Avenue in Union, signed with no changes. Marco Pork, LP number 61016 at 1131 140th Street, St. Anthony, Iowa, signed with changes. Bill Havelka site, number 3, number 64515 at 2833 Garwin Road, Marshalltown, signed with no changes. Aaron Borton, number 65862 at 1371 Eastman Avenue, Clemens, signed with changes. Dennis A. Anderson at number 62848 at 1833 Main Street, State Center, Iowa, signed with no changes, and JT Farms East, number 63208 at 2348 290th Street, Haverhill. I assume signed with no changes. Doesn't say that there, but we'll mark it that way. That is the end of the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve today's consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any comments on the changes?
Good morning, Jordan Gaffney, Marshall County Attorney. So the changes in my staff are kind of the product of what we had discussed in the budgeting process, going from 9 attorneys, including myself, down to 8 attorneys on staff. And so these increases don't reflect additional tax dollars being spent. It's just a reallocation of those dollars to go from 9 staff members in attorney positions to 8, with 1 position remaining to be filled. Which hopefully I'll have interviews this week or next for that position. The only difference is that for Kaylee's position, the increase is a little bit more, and that's because she would be accepting a promotion from the position that she had into the misdemeanor VAWA funded prosecutor position. So she's essentially going up from simple misdemeanors to indictables full-time in a pretty heavily contested docket. And that one I have asked to have specially backdated to April 1st because Seth Strahan's last day was the 31st of March, and Kaylee pretty much jumped into that position right away and has already started covering those hearings, filing documents in court for those cases, and she's already becoming familiar with those cases and meeting with victims. So I would ask to have that particular change in her status backdated to April 1st. But the others, I would just ask to have effective April 16th. Did you guys have any questions on any of them?
Any questions?
No, this was good process in our budgeting meetings that found some efficiencies in your staffing, and at the same time, competitiveness in wages. That's a real thing that you're dealing with in your department. So
Right.
I'm glad this was kind of a good workout for everybody on this.
Right, yeah, and the big thing here is just making it more competitive to get new applicants and keep those that we have, so. Yeah.
So for the position you're interviewing for, have you had a reasonable amount of applicants, or?
Not as many as I would like.
Yeah.
I know I have 3 interested and I've received 1 application.
Okay. Okay, keep us posted.
Will do.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 8, presentation on the green burial. Tyler, is Patrick coming?
I don't know, he said he was gonna be here, but I don't see him.
Okay.
Tyler Kelly, Marshall County Planning and Zoning. So this was not something that we had on any kind of county policy. This was brought by a Marshall County resident, August of 2024. Since then, we've done a lot of research, both my department, the assessor's office, and the auditor's office, on everything from the Iowa Cemetery Act to tax changes or tax implications statewide. What we came up with, our 3 offices in the several meetings that we held, was a form that we can put together for tracking these green burials in Marshall County to ensure that they're protected going forward. Can you bring up that form, please?
Yeah.
So, calling around to different counties, there wasn't a standard operating procedure. There was a few counties that they've dealt with this on a regular basis, but they were few and far between. There wasn't much for us to go on, and even contacting funeral homes, directors from the Iowa Cemetery Association, this just wasn't a widespread phenomenon like it is out west in some of the other states where they're seeing this a lot more. So going with that, we did come up with some stipulations. that we would require out of my office and the others. One was a survey done of the burial site. That survey will allow us to put a permanent easement on that property to make sure nobody builds a house over it, nobody farms over it, and it's protected for the lifetime of that property. That way it'll move with the landowners and the changes that the property might see over the years. A signed agreement for the funeral director. So this was something that was out of the Iowa Cemetery Act, that any interment has to be done by a licensed funeral director so they can record the GPS location of where the body's interred. Area not located in the floodplain, obviously, I don't have to go into why it shouldn't be in the floodplain, but that was one stipulation that I thought was very important. And then the area was zoned as A1. Obviously, with the changes we see in this county, we don't see a lot of A1 transition to R1 or R2 or R3 or any of the other zoning districts. So if it isn't in the county development plan, I think we're safe in some of these A1 zoned areas to allow this green burial process.
Tyler, there were, if I remember right, there were requirements for the funeral directors on the depth of the grave too, is
Yes,
that right?
so the funeral directors in their Iowa Cemetery Act, I can't tell you the exact, but it obviously couldn't be a shallow grave. I think it was 6 or 9 feet. And that was more for critters and everything else too. And I got a lot of different side notes from the funeral directors when I did talk to them about that
Yeah.
particular process. What else do I have in my notes? So as far as this form goes, this will be available for any county resident to fill out this form. It'll be submitted to our geo permit program that we currently use for septic, building, address changes. Most of the stuff that we do with my office goes through that geo permit program. With that, it'll send out a notification to the mentioned offices regarding the permit, so everybody can review the information and add any notes or changes or concerns. And then it will be sent out to the executor of the estate, and my plan is to send it out to the funeral directors and everybody else too. As long as whoever we have contact information, the first of kin, the executor of the state, they should definitely have this information in their packets as well. With this, there is one thing that when we go into the geo-permitting process, there will be a link that they can click on the Iowa code and go through and read whatever information they need out of that too, as far as the Iowa Cemetery Act 523I goes. And hopefully, just reading through that document will provide the family or the interested individual with a little bit more information on that process as well.
How does this compare with what other counties do?
So in Story County, their planning and zoning, Ethan, he has just been doing paper copies, and he said there was some issues in the past where he's been actually called out on Saturdays and Sundays to get the required paperwork to the family the day of. Having this on file ahead of time, I think, is going to be a little bit more easier for us, that the funeral director or whoever concerns can contact us and say, is the form filled out? Do you have a copy of it? But hopefully they should have all that information ahead of time. I would rather be proactive than retroactive on this anyway.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I know this has been a lot of work for you.
This wasn't
so-
brought up in the job interview, I'll give you that. Yeah, this is my first real look into the planning and zoning world, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Paul had a,
I was just wondering, so A1 has to be zoned A1 to have a green burial. Does that green burial then lock that parcel in A1 forever?
So as far as the tax implications go, there's nothing there in Iowa code or anything to transition that property or protect it initially. Our thoughts and the thoughts I've gotten from local counties is, if there's a body interred on A1, there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to buy it for housing development. So, so as far as I go, there's nothing in state code that'll protect it one way or the other. It's just with the permanent easement, I thought that would be the easiest way for the county side to cover us, I guess.
And so if someone fills out the application, is it a done deal then? Or does it go through an approval
So
process?
it'll be approved by my office and the auditor's office.
Okay. So,
We've had several meetings on this.
yeah. And so there is I guess my point was, there's a process once you fill this out.
Yes.
That it would
There's-
have to be approved.
There's two different reviews from two different offices
Yeah.
before it gets approval.
Okay.
And the survey, paying to have the survey done as well is an
Yeah, it's
expense.
important, yeah.
And a very important piece of it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I know someone in the back of the room has an opinion, and,
Do you want to,
yeah.
Joe Phillips, Sheriff, Marshall County. So this is for one specific body. Would additional family members or bodies that would like to be placed in the same area, would they have to go through the same process individually? It would not be.
it's for one
process.
plot, one burial.
Yes. So the topic of mass burials was brought up, and let's say one plat. We talked about getting a minimum acreage, but at the end of the day, one individual, one plat of survey, one body, I think is where we need to stay with this. I have been contacted by several other counties south of here regarding our process, and I think it might get adopted elsewhere, just based on the work that we've done on the project and everything else.
Well, and if a family has a desire for multiple burials there in the future, they can have the survey done at the time, but it's one plot, one application.
Yes, and another thing that got brought up in the process of this is a family cemetery or something like that. But this is completely different than a family cemetery process. This is stated out pretty differently in the Iowa Cemetery Act.
Yeah.
There's a whole different process for that.
Yeah.
For that, yeah. But families could survey plots for future application.
Yes, but there is a certain size, I think, that kicks into the effect
Then
that
it
it would become a
becomes
cemetery.
subject to the cemetery.
The Iowa Cemetery Act,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thank you
There's a
both for
law
all
for
your
that,
work.
you know,
Yes,
isn't it
yes.
great?
Thank you.
So then, does the board need to act, I don't think it's not on the agenda today, but we need to adopt.
No,
We
there's,
don't adopt
because
it
there's
this-
Iowa code, there's nothing.
This is just the process, so,
We're just following the law.
Perfect.
okay.
And he's adding it to his permit system.
Thank you for all that work on that.
Yeah,
Nan, from
thank
your
you.
department,
Thank you.
all good to go? Any issues? Perfect. Well, thank you guys for working together on that. It's, the interesting projects in county government you have no idea you're gonna get into, and you'll learn a lot, and maybe it takes more time than you expect, but thank you for that, and the people of Marshall County appreciate that for sure, so thank you.
You'll probably be traveling to do presentations on it.
I've had auditors ask me as well, and it's like, this is so weird.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9, award contract ID 64-C064-147 to Manats Incorporated of Brooklyn, Iowa, in the amount of $862,755.59. Paul?
Paul Geilenfeld, County Engineer. This is, this project was let March 18th at the DOT, and Manats Incorporated was read low. I think we had 4 bids, but this is below our engineer's opinion of probable cost, so that's good. Seems like prices are kind of starting to, even out and fluctuate a little bit our direction for change. We've had a couple things come in under estimate. This contract has a late start date of October 6th with 20 working days. It is the 3.5 miles of of asphalt resurfacing from 4th Street in State Center, and it goes up around the curve and goes west to the Story County line. So this is Old Highway 30, which is our Route E41 or 230th Street. And it'll be the electronic format that we do, so we just need a authorization for the
For me
chair
to go on,
sign the
yeah.
contract and bond when it's available.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve the award of a contract ID 64-C064-147 to Manats Incorporated, Brooklyn, Iowa, in the amount of $862,755.59 for the project FM CO-147-55-64 for resurfacing and milling on E41 from Story County Line east 3.5 miles to State Center and south 3/8 of a mile to 2nd Street Northwest, and authorize the chair to sign the contract and bond when available.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 And I'll note that it's awarded, and then the next thing that happens is the contractor signs the contract, and then Bruce will get a hold
Let
of
me
you, and then
know.
we'll go through with our.
Okay.
Or sign.
Question for you,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the update on Highway 14 and how they're coming?
I don't. I'll call Dustin Skogerbo, the resident construction engineer, and he can kind of tell me if they've got a day when they think it's going to be open. Originally, they thought it was going to be closed through the 18th,
Okay.
which would be, next week. But I think they look like they're ahead of schedule anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
We are fighting beat up roads every way you can get around that project. So it's
Yeah.
kind of tough on us, but I don't think anybody's using the detour.
No, I don't think so. Okay. Item number 10, approved transfer of funds, transfer 953, which would be the quarterly transfer of 750,000 rural services fund to secondary road fund.
I'll make the motion to approve transfer 953, the quarterly transfer of 750,000 from rural services fund to secondary road fund.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 11, public hearing, 2025-2026 budget. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for comments on the 2025-2026 budget.
I'll move that we open the public hearing for the 2025-2026 budget.
At 9:28. Is
I'll
that what
second.
you have? Okay. At the public hearing, any resident may present objections to or arguments in favor of any part of the proposed budget. So we'll have a roll call vote to open the public hearing.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is open. Any written comments,
We have
Nan?
none. Nope.
Okay. No email questions or
No, we've had nothing since
No
we had
comment.
our meeting.
last meeting?
Yeah. I guess I
Okay.
got one question for one other document that I'd sent in PDF to be in Excel. And that was the only thing I've
That was
sent out.
the request.
That was the
that's sent out.
request, it's the same
Different
report,
formatting.
just in a different format. So that's the only thing I've gotten.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you'll count the number of individuals here in the room?
And then how many online? So 9?
Do you want me to do the presentation during the hearing or what on the next item for adopting?
What?
Do you want me to do the presentation
Yeah.
in the hearing or during that item?
I'd say in the hearing, because it will allow people to ask questions. Okay. So as part of the public hearing, I think Jarrett will share some information that is available online, and also hard copies are available in the room, that summarizes 2025-2026 budget.
So we'll briefly go through our just a budget presentation today. You can go to the next slide. Brief overview of last year's audit, the current year budget that we're in, the status that we're in, our budget proposal, and some of the challenges we're going through. Next, thank you. So we just received our audit from Ide Bailey March 24th. Highlights from that is our net position increased 5.8%. That's $5 million. And our ending fund balance increased $3.4 million. No new debt taken out of Marshall County, which we reduced down 12% to $3.2 million. And just for point of reference, our debt limit is $170, not $170, that's $170 million, and we're not even close to that. So, and I don't have any anticipation of us ever getting close to that in any time soon. So, revenues at 41.3 million, and expenditures at 39.7. So good, nice, clean audit, and we're happy about that. So current year, our reestimate for the current year is a $42.2 million budget, with our estimated fund balance. Fund balance is 4.3 in general basic. That's a 44% of expenditures. General supplemental, 2.6 million, 50% of expenditures, and the total rural services, 2.7 million for 50% expenditures. Again, we had in this current year debt reduction of $575,000 and no new debt added. I think the key part of in the middle of this year was a lot of good collaboration within our departments through all of our budget process that really helped kind of whittle things down and have a good, better target for the current year. That put us in really good standing for our budget positioning that we're currently going to approve today. Next slide. On to the budget proposal. So the total budget's $41.18 million. That's a decrease of just a little over $1 million from our re-estimate, and it's a reduction of $500,000 from the original budget proposal. Key thing that we're supporting there, of course, is our law enforcement and public safety legal services. That's an increase of $700,000. That's a good increase and commitment to our law enforcement for not just personnel but equipment as well. And this is the second year in a row we've had our largest commitment to secondary roads in roads, bridges, operations of $3 million transfer from county tax dollars to secondary roads. A lot of people don't understand, massive part of that budget is not actually from county dollars, it's state dollars, road use tax fund and such. So in the county portion, well, it was $3 million. Of course, no new debt again, and our reduction in debt service by $580,000. So getting to taxes, as we look at our levy proposal, general basic, rural basic debt service levies all reduced, 1%, 2.6%, and we'll talk more about this of our general supplemental levy increase 5%. That's kind of the key challenge of our budget is the general supplemental for a total levy increase of 0.6%. That's includes the rural. That's from 9.3 to 9.35. What that means on the next slide is the general basic tax increase, 1.9%, the rural basic, 1.7%, our debt service, that's neutral. General supplemental, that's 8.1, for a total tax increase of 3.9, and that's $602,548 increase for a total tax askings of $16.2 million. One note that a lot of people don't quite understand is, wow, our budget is $41 million, but only $16 million of that comes directly from the property tax payers. Obviously, it comes from different state agencies, state funds, and so But 16.2 million is what we're asking from the taxpayers today. So on to the final slide of the budget challenges. This current year, our valuation growth is only 2.78%. Inflation was 3% last year. We're looking at 2.8% currently in this year, and cost of living is 2.5%. I believe that was 3% last year, but 2.5% this year. The main component of the general supplemental that we saw that big increase in is really in our administration operations of really our insurance. We've talked about that in a variety of meetings before of our insurance costs going up $200,000 to 26.4%. And so, I mean, that's the key piece. When you look at what we did with our reductions in the levies of general basic, that right there shows you that we really did a great job with our departments on holding the line in a lot of variety of areas. When we're able to make the commitments and increases in public safety, as well as maintaining that for secondary roads, and still doing wage increases for our staff. 3% for most of our staff. We did have 5% for conservation. It's about 7% overall for sheriff's office from that union negotiation. That's a lot of commitments that we've made to make sure that our personnel are adequately there. Kind of like in our discussion item earlier with Jordan, found some good efficiencies of reducing down a staff, but he needs to be competitive to hire people. So there was a lot of good movement that we saw within our departments to be efficient, and I think our general basic line really demonstrates that. Obviously, the cost of insurance, that's probably one of our biggest concerns going forward. Hopefully that can level out. And then looking at our, I mean, my main thing that I've always struggled with is if we have tax going up 3.9%, but our growth is only 2.78%. I would rather have those be even, but due to the nature of what we're currently in with insurance costs, we also do have some risk management of unresolved obligations with our courthouse project. It would be wise to have that at 3.9, not reduce our fund balances any further to make sure that we are solvent and in good fiscal standing. I think to maybe mitigate that 3.9%. You know, the budget process never really ends, even though we will have a vote today that will conclude this process. We still do have, we can make reductions in cost savings for us within our budget through the appropriations process. It's very similar to what we do in our budget amendment process. So we can still reduce our appropriations to set some more money aside that we hopefully can return back to the taxpayers or pay for any unforeseen bills that may come up in our way. So, and that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them, or any further discussion from the board.
Kevin, do you have anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
No.
No, I appreciate your work on summarizing things. It was a good process. It was, I think, a thorough process. We appreciate Nan and her staff and
Maria.
Maria, especially Maria, and all the work she does, and their flexibility with making sure we have the information we need to make good decisions. So thank you all for that, and thank you to the department heads. I think we can move forward with this. Any comments? James, anyone online asking to comment? Okay. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing at 9:39 a.m.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Goodman,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Item number 12, resolution number 2025-0013, adopt budget and certified taxes for fiscal year 2025-2026. So pursuant to section 331.4345A, counties are required to adopt a county budget and certify taxes. And the proposed 2025-2026 county budget was published in the Marshalltown Times-Republican and State Center Mid-Iowa Enterprise on March 27th, 2025. And there were 0 written comments, questions or objections on file in the county auditor and recorder's office, and the number
9.
there were, of the 9 individuals attending the public hearing, 0 presented oral comments, questions, or objections. Now therefore be it resolved that the county budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 be adopted, and the county auditor and recorder be authorized to certify and file the budget and certificate of taxes as adopted, dated at Marshalltown, Iowa, this 9th day of April, 2025. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
Go for it, Jerry.
All right, well, I'll make the motion to adopt Resolution 2025-0013, adopt budget and certify taxes for fiscal year 2025 and 26.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Moving on to public forum. This is time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in the public forum. Would anyone like to address the meeting?
I think just one comment to add is, the budget process that's in here. We got the mailings from the auditor's office on explaining the tax rates in the previous meetings. And then we have the assessor sending out their mailings of assessments. And those assessments from there, of course, are not for what we just approved here. Those will be for the next year. It does state on the current year as well. So if you're watching for that, you'll see that number that's factored in there. But there's a lot of pieces that go involved in this. Then at the same time, we're hearing a lot of action down in Des Moines of the legislature looking at property tax reform, which I think we're all glad that they're looking at something to be hopefully better. But I guess time will tell on what of our jobs changes for this process next year, or if they're going to kick it to another year. I don't know what's going to happen, but just the fact that the House and the Senate are running very same bills makes you think it's going to happen. Although they kind of tapped the brakes on things when they kind of rolled it out, and then they said they want to hear a lot of public thoughts on it, and so I don't know. We'll
see.
wait and see. So
Yeah.
thanks to everyone paying attention to their affiliates of what those processes are. I know Nan's paying attention quite a bit. Blaze is sending us all the time different things from the assessor's affiliate that's keeping us up to date on it. So,
Well, I do appreciate the fact that our partnership with the chamber, John has been
They
in
send
touch
that
with
out.
us,
Sending
asking,
out some things
yeah,
and asking questions.
asking how this would affect us if they did this and if they adopted certain things down there. So there's been a lot of activity around it.
And they say the latest is kind of, it wouldn't go into effect till 2030, which you always say, oh, well, that's a long ways down the road, and then it isn't when we're adopting
Yeah.
25.
As you're budget planning, it comes up quickly.
It comes up very, very quickly, but they are really evaluating it very carefully. I feel like they're really doing their due diligence in Des Moines. So.
yeah, I think that's the one concern that the legislature's heard from, House File 718 was they just kind of rammed that through without hearing much comment, or there was just a lot of misinformation that went around. So they really tapped the brakes on this to make sure that, A, they are hearing good comment from those that would be affected by it, of course, local governments, but B, verifying that the proper information, that there isn't misinformation, that everyone's kind of on the same page of what's coming. Of course, when it's property taxes, it's hard to have all the information straight because it really is a complex process. And nonetheless, hopefully we all are learning something from it in the process. But wild ride down to the legislature. We'll see what happens.
And we have shared in our office, but, please call election line or email it. It's the easiest way to get information out there, but we will do estimated calculations for this fall. If people are worried, we'll be happy to do that for folks. So please reach out if people want that done.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
That
thank
is
you.
a helpful thing
That's
for the
very helpful.
taxpayer.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no other comments, the next regular session is
The 23rd.
April 23rd. There we go. April 23rd at 9 a.m. at the courthouse, first floor meeting room right here. All business to be acted upon at that session should be submitted to the county auditor recorder's office at the Board of Supervisors office by Wednesday, April 16th at 12 p.m. noon. There being no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 9:45 a.m.